living inside that spiritual essence, being fully connected to our divine essence, means that we are co-creators with Spirit. We're co-creators with God in creating a world that is saturated in love. And it's not always easy, right? This is, though, the essential message that Jesus brought to Jerusalem. And as he moved through that week, he continued to profess it, knowing that that message was not consistent with what people were used to, and it was really a challenge to the Roman rule. Right. That's my favorite song by Faith Rivera. And it has such resonance with the Easter message. For the Easter message is really all about rising up, isn't it? So let's just take a few moments to reflect on that message. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and listen to the beginning of the song.
Take a deep breath, let the healing start. I lift my hands, I plant my feet, I let love in, I feel the beat that's calling, 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 calling us to rise. Rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me.
Rise up. Spirit, rise up, rise in me. That's today's message. It's the message that we come together every Easter to remember and to celebrate and to live. It's about opening to the call of Spirit and following the full wonder of our spiritual essence in everything we say, in everything we think, in everything we do. Or at least endeavoring to do that, right? During Holy Week, every year we commit to this call once again as we remember and celebrate Jesus' final week. That week began on the first Palm Sunday, where Jesus came into Jerusalem, offering the people his message about the kingdom of God and how it is different than the way of the world. It is a way of being in the world that is saturated with the presence of God, and it is available to each and every one of us. I believe that Jesus lived inside that truth, and that it was felt and experienced by those around him. And it is such a different way of being in the world than what we're used to. Inside this presence, there is only love. The message over and over and over and over again is to give us ourselves to the call of love. And this is the thing that I want you to really hear. Living inside that spiritual essence, being fully connected to our divine essence, means that we are co-creators with Spirit. We're co-creators with God in creating a world that is saturated in love. And it's not always easy, right? This is, though, the essential message that Jesus brought to Jerusalem. And as he moved through that week, he continued to profess it, knowing that that message was not consistent with what people were used to, and it was really a challenge to the Roman rule. So he knew that he was taking great risk, and he went and taught that message anyway throughout the week, and he could feel the tension rising. He knew that his life was at risk, and he gathered with his closest disciples in a final meal of fellowship and communion, washing their feet tenderly, gently, serving them bread and wine and telling them, "Do this in memory of me." Continue to live inside this presence. Continue to be present to and with one another. And continue to share this message with the world, because it is so essential and so needed. The next day, the Romans crucified Jesus. And even there, in that most difficult and painful experience, he chose love. He chose forgiveness. He chose to see people as they were created and not define them by their behaviors. And then a couple days later, something happened. The Gospels speak of the women going to the tomb and not finding Jesus' body. Other places in the Gospels, there are reports of Jesus appearing to various followers. Some of them, the 12 disciples, some of them, other followers. And in Paul, he speaks of 500 people seeing, experiencing Jesus. And the message spread. He is risen, to share the way Luke tells this story. But on the first day of the week at early dawn, they came to the tomb, taking the spices that they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away. But when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly, 2 men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the 3rd day rise again." Something happened. Jesus' presence was still with them. He had risen. In the last week, Marcus Borg and John Dominic Crosland put it this way: Jesus is not among the dead, but among the living. He is a figure of the present, not just the past. The presence his followers had known in Jesus before the crucifixion continued to be experienced and to operate after it. Jesus was still present. Jesus is still present. And we can look at this in a variety of ways, but if we look inside it more deeply, I come to the conclusion that the resurrection experience happened in multiple ways. I believe that essentially that experience occurred in Jesus well before the crucifixion. Spirit, God, had risen up in him. He lived inside that reality. And because he lived inside that reality, others felt that presence. They recognized that presence, and they chose to seek ways to develop it in themselves. They sought ways to awaken as Jesus had. And because they were wrapped inside that truth and looking for the Christ and experiencing the Christ essence in themselves, they were able to continue to share his message. But this experience is not just about Jesus. It's not just about the followers of Jesus who had their own kind of resurrection. It is about each and every one of us. Each one of you. Each one of you is sacred, is special, is an expression of the divine. Each one of you is an expression of love. And since before you were born, that call of Spirit has resided in you, inviting you to live inside that awareness, to live inside that presence, and to give it over and over and over again to the world. Jesus in the Gospel of John says, "In the world you will have tribulation, but I have overcome the world." I would say that Jesus had some tribulation. I would say that all of us experience tribulation, that we experience challenges, that there are times where things go awry, there are times when we act in ways, what were the words, Courtney, from the song? Even our worst behaviors don't define us. We are still a child of God. We are still an expression of the divine, and that is true for everyone, irrespective of the way they show up. What I am so touched by when I think about Jesus' life is his ability to be there, even in the most difficult times. And it is a testimony to what is possible for each and every one of us. Whether you have a financial challenge or a relationship's gone awry, whether your heart is hurting from something that happened long ago, whether you've forgotten how incredibly beautiful and wonderful you are, whatever it is, you can rise above it. And when you rise above it, it touches everyone. You see, the Easter message, the message of resurrection, has an individual component that we all must adhere to. We have to keep seeking to live inside that spiritual essence. But we also are invited to give it away to the world. Jesus spoke of the kingdom of God, and when he did so, he spoke from the perspective of the prophet Isaiah, who had a vision for the world that was embedded in the love of God, that permeated every aspect of reality, and that included all. And so we also are called to live inside that reality. And I'm going to ask us to be a little bit vulnerable this morning and to do this with one another. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone close to you and to take their hands and to look into their eyes as we hear some more of Faith's song.
Heart to heart, hand in hand, no turning back, onward to promised land. Do you feel the power of 1,000 suns lighting up the dark? Oh, we rise as one.
Rise. Or sit. Rise in me. So simple. Not always easy. But this is what we are called to do day by day. We are called by Spirit. We are called by love. We are called to choose the kingdom and to reside in the power and the presence of activity. In 2 Corinthians 3:18, Paul says, all of us, with unveiled faces, seeing the glory of the Lord as though reflected in a mirror, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. This is what we are here to do. And if you're like me, you have some work to do. But my choice and my invitation to you is to choose Spirit, to choose love, and whatever is messy in your life, know that through the presence and power and activity of God, you can rise. Namaste.
Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate,